I'll
And
tell you
one
right
thing,
now, when a lot of supermarkets aren't carrying any food, I have a problem with that. You may think that you go around, everything is assembled,
yeah,
it's not grown. And you
and
need
they
a
keep
competent
keeping.
balance between assembled food and grown food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I
And even in the assembled food, keep in mind though, the same definition does not hold true for the ingredients that it once did. So the flour from 40, 50 years ago is definitely not the flour today, which has been more extracted, grown differently, which has been milled finer for a softer
Like
quality.
I said, we can do better. This is the stuff I'm talking about. We can
but
do better, right? It's like the
yeah, and
primary ingredients the food manufacturers use, they could do better. The dirty secret of the food industry is the ridiculous level of profit. That's the dirty
And that's
secret.
something in the science side we have
Hundreds of percent on single
because
food
it hit
items.
over the years. And
So we have to change the way that capitalism, whatever economic model we're using to feed people, a profiteering model that's purely capitalistic is not going to work.
not only that, remember it's two ways because in modern countries where the focus is work and winning and everything else, the evolution of food companies and brands is also partly to consumer demand. And that's when the investors outside of food started to get involved.
I'm gonna say I don't know that I 100% believe that. I think consent is manufactured in the food industry. Food industry tells us what we think we should be eating and they put it on the shelf. I think that's what food marketing is about, and those are the marketing determinants of health. I
And I
don't
think
think
that was
people
my,
woke up one day and said, I want Fruit Loops for breakfast when Fruit
no, no,
Loops didn't exist. Give it
here's the
to
thing
us.
is you go to the city bodega or the Dollar General, if there's no bananas there, whose fault is that? It's the peoples who aren't gonna come and buy it.
but
The store
I'm
would
going to
sell
say
bananas if the people were buying the bananas.
on the
That's
brand side, from having worked with some of the stronger organic names in the past, I'm also going to say that there was an intense customer demand to push for, oh, we want to have like a cake that's more like the conventional box or frosting that's smoother or a softer muffin instead of having the whole grain one that you guys make. Like we actually got the consumer.
Just remember, we were marketed the idea that healthy food could be exactly the same as
And
unhealthy food, but still be
I
healthy. It's
placed
not true.
that, I
It's
placed
all
that,
marketing,
I
marketing,
placed that
marketing. marketing.
a chocolate chip muffin might as well be a piece of cake in a muffin shape, right?
Right.
It's
But
like
then
people
someone could
think that's a
say,
health
oh, it has
breakfast.
fiber. It's high in fiber and polyphenols. Well, it has 0.5 grams of fiber and it has
Yeah.
a sprinkling of some polyphenols from the chocolate. So again, that's, it's the veneer of health. And
we have
that's what I want to talk, like,
we have that in supplement too, though. We have that
sure.
business side that
Like I said, I'll just go back to what I said. We can do better. We morally and ethically know we can do better. Okay.
oh,
Anybody, I don't care. I talk all over the place and I look people in the eye and I say, can we do better? And they say, yeah, we can do better.
Well,
And
so
that's the idea. We
when
need to
we
keep doing that.
when we say food manufacturers are responsible, many of them do come up with healthy offerings, but then they don't sell. Is
Mm.
that the fault of scientists that we have to make it taste better? Do we have to make it cheaper? Because ultimately, it's driven by demand. If the consumer doesn't buy it, well, the
Right.
manufacturers aren't going to
listen,
make.
I'm going to tell you one little before we have to absolutely wrap up here. I'm going to tell you one little secret that I was told when I was working on conventional food. I was working on Duncan Hines frostings, and I had a boss who had been with the Duncan Hines brand for 30 some odd years. Did you know at one point in the 80s, consumers demanded this disgusting item be replaced, removed, whatever, and they wanted an artificial item instead in the frosting that helped stabilize the
In the
flavor.
1980s,
It
no
was
one really understood what
exactly.
that request was about.
Actually, you'll love this one. The original formulas for Duncan Hines frosting used agar, one of the emulsifiers, and the binders to keep it stable. Agar was removed when a consumer apparently complained, "Oh my God, it's that disgusting seaweed stuff," and it was replaced with celluloses, modified celluloses, and your so the hyperoxy.
Just from, so I'll
And
say
agar
again.
was more natural or less processed than the modified cellulose.
And,
So I mean, but in
I,
this point, the point 1980s, like there have been, so it's September 2025 now, are approximately 175,000 human microbiome trial. 1980s barely register any
Was unknown
interest in the microbiome. It's unknown,
about the perception of
right?
blue seaweed, right?
Sure. But now we have more fidelity in the data. You can
And
feed someone an emulsifier-rich meal like they did in the Paris Nutri-Santé trials in 2023 and 2024. They found massive unmitigated disruption in the microbiome, leading to tight junction issues, elevated levels of inflammation, and immune activation, specifically leading to late adult onset type 2 diabetes and potentially LADA, which is late adult autoimmune diabetes, right? We didn't know what we were doing in 1980. Nobody did. And anybody that lays claim otherwise is not telling you the truth unless they were on the platform of eating real food. They
no,
had a platform to stand.
In the 1980s, there was only about a quarter inch of icing on the cupcake versus now they put about an inch worth
So,
of Duncan Hines icing.
100%. 100%. Your
and
bliss points have changed, package sizes have changed.
Portion
We
sizes,
know
yeah.
far more about addictive chemistry, Blake, than we ever knew before in the past. Of
but
course,
there's
those things have
flavors and
changed.
things that were also much more natural because there weren't the artificial options at one point. And this is what I'm trying to get back to, where we can do better and we actually have the tools from the past. Because when I switched to organic foods and I was working with an organic company prior to 2013, that was our task. Like all this stuff about switching colors and everything now, yes, there are challenges in formulation.
Think it's a multi-step process. You have to do better in the supermarket, which means that the initial offerings on the shelf have to be of higher quality and less gust disruption and less addictive and less sugar, salt, fat. Michael Motz's book 101 there.
And
But
then
you
people
also have to do better on community food supply, where those that are interested can go buy organically grown or biodynamically or regen lettuce. So you need this. We can't solve it any other way. You got early adopters in this new paradigm of local food eating, and you got people that are going to have to eat packaged food. I'm sorry, that's just the
and then
reality.
affordable
So how do we do that better?
I mean, but personally, I think, if we can just not have the very dark blue icing and go to, say, okay, maximum 0.5 milligrams, whatever, based on the safety, I'd be okay with that.
Then again, how do we then not have
Based
the
on
nannies?
science.
The nanny
So
state.
it can't be
It's
ideology. It has
the
to be based
nutritional
on
nanny
science.
state. Or it's like, you can't eat that much. How do we? I don't know. I want to educate people to make high quality choices so that they go to the store and they're self-actualized in it.
about learning how to taste real food again.
That's another one.
Okay,
It's
now
big.
you're adding costs with blue spirulina instead of
Yeah, sure,
5.
sure.
It's like, okay, well, but no, on a case by case.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
true.
less. Yeah.
No, but be
Anyway.
scientific and don't just be like ideological.
But I think practical takeaways for everybody who are listening, it would be get some quality ferments in your diet. Whatever that looks like. If you have a cultural background that has some type of gravity in your life, do that. I'll do an easy one. Just say you're German and it's sauerkraut, then do that. You're
make a
something
slaw,
like that.
Throw some vinegar and some cabbage.
Do something like that. Or go buy it at the store from a reputable brand that, like we sell a lot of a brand called Bubby's. They're a traditional fermenter. They do a really, really nice job. I ate a lot. Had to take some antibiotics recently, unfortunately, after a surgery that went sideways. So I ate like so much fermented foods, probiotics, and, sac boulardii to kind of rehab the gut. And people can then make one traditional dish if you can.
Right.
I'm Dutch, right?
What
So
did your grandma
the Dutch and super known like that. I'll make one traditional Dutch soup from the bones, from the carcass. This is the thing. Maybe I'll use AI. Heaven forbid I'll use AI to figure out a traditional recipe. I'm going to go make it. I'm going to make your fermented product. This is ways we can incentivize people and get them inspired to go and do this stuff.
Right.
What your grandma ate and eat what your grandma ate. Make what your grandma made. Like,
or at least one thing. Pick one thing and learn how to